OpenAI's transition from a nonprofit to a for-profit. Everyone can sense the world rapidly changing with the advent of AI technology. On the cusp of what feels like a new industrial revolution, humanity is suddenly confronted with new and important philosophical, moral, and economic questions. One such question is if OpenAI should be a nonprofit organization or a for-profit venture. OpenAI was incorporated as a non-profit artificial intelligence research corporation on December 11th of 2015 with the mission to ensure that artificial general intelligence, AGI, AI systems that are generally smarter than humans, benefits all of humanity. At the time of its formation as a nonprofit, OpenAI announced that its nonprofit status would allow it to focus on benefiting humanity unconstrained by a need to generate financial return. It was founded by a number of well-respected engineers and scientists, including Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal and an early investor in Facebook, Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, and Sam Altman, who serves as OpenAI's CEO, securing commitments of $1 billion into OpenAI's success. OpenAI's nonprofit received over $130 million in total donations over the first few years of its existence, but according to its website, it became increasingly clear that donations alone would not scale with the cost of computational power and talent required to push core research forward, jeopardizing our mission. So we devised a structure to preserve our nonprofit's core mission, governance, and oversight while enabling us to raise the capital for our mission. And thus, a new for-profit subsidiary was formed in 2019, capable of issuing equity to raise capital and hire world-class talent, but still at the direction of the nonprofit. Microsoft became the biggest investor in the for-profit subsidiary. According to OpenAI, the for-profit subsidiary is legally bound to pursue the nonprofit's mission and carries out that mission by engaging in research, development, commercialization, and other core operations. Commenting on Microsoft's significant investment, OpenAI's website states, "While our partnership with Microsoft includes a multi-billion-dollar investment, OpenAI remains an entirely independent company governed by the OpenAI nonprofit." In November 2022, OpenAI launched ChatGPT, the chat box that stunned users with its ability to craft convincing, human-like responses to an array of prompts, which quickly became the most popular AI application ever released. ChatGPT is offered in a free basic version with different paid upgrade options available for premium plans. In September of 2024, news broke that OpenAI was planning to transition to a for-profit benefit corporation, an entity no longer to be controlled by its nonprofit board that would generate profits but would also be committed to the social and public good. According to The Guardian, the startup was considering this transition in response to the massive expense of developing powerful AI systems. It therefore needs more investment. The startup is in talks to raise $6.5 billion from investors, and removing any restrictions on profits would be an extra incentive for the would-be backers engaged in talks. Potential investors include the tech company Apple and the chip maker NVIDIA. The transition would have detached the for-profit entity from its legal responsibility to carry out its original organizational purpose, to advance digital intelligence in a way that's most likely to benefit humanity. It also was opposed by former co-founder Elon Musk, who filed a lawsuit seeking to block OpenAI from converting to a for-profit business. Musk claimed that his $45 million donation to fund the startup was contingent on OpenAI remaining a nonprofit organization. Musk's lawsuit also alleges that OpenAI violated its purpose to pursue public benefit over profits. Musk wasn't the only one expressing concern about this proposed transition. In April 2025, a group of former OpenAI employees published an open letter addressed to the Attorney Generals of California, where OpenAI is based, and Delaware, where it's legally incorporated, warning that OpenAI's plan to restructure would remove corporate safeguards and threaten to violate its founding pro-social purpose. The letter stated in part, "The restructuring would profoundly change the duties owed by the organization controlling the development and deployment of OpenAI's technology. Its incentives would shift from an enforceable duty owed to the public to ensure AGI is safe and benefits all of humanity, to no fiduciary duty at all to the public, with an enforceable requirement to consider profit making to enhance shareholder value. All of the governance safeguards that Mr. Altman claimed ensure OpenAI remains focused on its long-term mission would be in jeopardy. Also in April, a group of nonprofits sent a petition to the California Attorney General asserting that OpenAI, by proposing this transition to for-profit status, has failed to protect its charitable assets and abandoned its commitment to its charitable mission. Subsequently, the California and Delaware Attorney Generals met with and sent a letter to OpenAI in September expressing their deep concern about AI chatbots leading to harm to children and stated, "Together, we are particularly concerned with ensuring that the stated safety mission of OpenAI as a nonprofit remains front and center. OpenAI purports to build AI to benefit all of humanity. Humanity includes children, and before we can even get to benefiting, we need to get to not harming." By May of 2025, OpenAI had abandoned its plans to restructure and remove control by its nonprofit board after facing significant backlash. Rose Chan Louis, the founding executive director for the Lowell Milken Center on Philanthropy and Nonprofits at UCLA, explained how the change to AI's structure in 2019 commenced an ongoing internal struggle between the firm's desire to commercialize and pursue profits to attract investment on the one hand, and safeguard its nonprofit founding purpose to ensure that the development of AI benefited humanity on the other. OpenAI co-founder and board chairman Brett Taylor subsequently stated that OpenAI would remain a charitable organization and convert its for-profit subsidiary into a public benefit corporation. The charity that oversees OpenAI will control that corporation as a large shareholder. As CEO Sam Altman told his employees, "We made the decision for the nonprofit to stay in control after hearing from civic leaders and having discussions with the offices of the Attorneys General of California and Delaware." However, in September of 2025, while investigation by the state attorney generals has been ongoing, OpenAI signed a new, non-binding memorandum of understanding with Microsoft to finalize the terms of a new agreement to both satisfy Microsoft's financial interests and maintain OpenAI's autonomy. Additionally, news broke on September 17th that OpenAI is fundamentally changing its equity structure through a corporate restructuring, shifting from a nonprofit limited return model to a traditional corporate equity system. Perhaps the most interesting aspect of the most recent restructuring plan is OpenAI's plans to change its for-profit LLC into a public benefit corporation, and if this plan materializes, it would make it the largest public benefit corporation in the United States. So what is a public benefit corporation? According to Delaware law, where OpenAI is incorporated, a public benefit corporation is a for-profit corporation that is intended to produce a public benefit or public benefits and to operate in a responsible and sustainable manner. Public benefit corporations are required to pursue a stated public mission and balance it against shareholder returns, and therefore OpenAI will be able to raise capital from traditional investors without abandoning the public interest commitments baked into its original nonprofit charter, which would allow increased flexibility while maintaining a clear mission through governance. Brian Johnson, CEO of Heroic Enterprises Public Benefit Corporation, explains that public benefit corporations recognize the fact that businesses can, and he'd say must, be used as a force for good, and their business leaders are committed to more than maximizing investor return. Johnson notes that for his company's legal documents, they are pretty much identical to any other C Corp out there, except for an additional fancy little paragraph that includes a commitment to optimizing this corporation's relationship to each of its stakeholders, including, without limitation, customers, employees, partners, and society. As one commentator noted, by converting its for-profit arm into a public benefit corporation, OpenAI can raise unlimited investment, offer conventional equity, and potentially go public, free from the constraints of its earlier capped profit model. The nonprofit's newly announced $100 billion stake, while impressive, could be viewed by some as a way to reframe a profit-driven shift as a philanthropic victory. Critics may argue that this is less about safeguarding humanity and more about enabling a lucrative move to public markets. That may or may not prove true, but the reality is that AI development is already operating on a scale where traditional structures and funding models no longer apply. The current restructuring plan, a $500 billion valuation, still requires approval from Microsoft and the attorney generals of those two states, California and Delaware. If it proceeds, Microsoft is set to acquire almost 30% of the shares, worth about $140 billion. Additionally, new investors, including Thrive Capital and SoftBank, will no longer be constrained by the current return cap structure and will be able to obtain equity returns commensurate with their substantial investments. While OpenAI has categorized Elon Musk's lawsuit against it as harassment, Musk's lawsuit alleges that transitioning to a for-profit structure compromises OpenAI's original mission, and the case is scheduled to proceed to jury trial on March 16th of 2026. As Legal Insider notes, legal analysts note that the trial could establish important precedents for how courts interpret founding charters, fiduciary duty, and mission alignment in rapidly evolving tech sectors. Beyond the courtroom, the case reflects a broader philosophical divide within the AI world between those who believe AI should remain open and universally beneficial and those who argue that commercial models are essential to progress and safety.